Hey YouTube, Josh here. Today we're going to be working on buggy doors. Why am I doing this? Well, I am not as young as I used to be, and climbing in and out of this thing is a pain. So I am making some low-cut doors to be able to get in and out. And yes, it does give you a little bit more exposure to outside the buggy, but to me it's worth the trade-off since it'll be a lot easier to get in and out and more fun. So here we go. So what I've done so far is cut this piece out from the buggy, and I think what I'm going to do is put a tube going down kind of almost parallel with this here, and then I had a buddy bend some DOM tubing in an 80 degree, not a 90, an 80, just because I had already measured the angle, and it's basically going to go like this. Alright, so this will go to here. I'm going to extend that out with some tube, and then this will have to get cut here so it goes into this tube here. Alright, so what I've gone and done here is I've chamfered the end here, okay? So the reason you want to chamfer, and chamfer means I'm just taking some of this edge off, making like a bevel, is so that when this connects, this tube and this tube I'm going to use connect, that I'll have a valley to be able to put my weld into. That's going to make things a lot stronger. I have a lot more penetration in the weld, and it will be good to go. And I have my chamfer, and I did a few tack welds all the way around, just so when I weld on one side, the tube won't bend or pull towards that side very much. Now that that's set up, I'm going to go ahead and do some beads and make this piece basically one long piece of tube. With my chamfer, I was able to go all the way around and fill in that tube. If I want to, I can go and grind it down and make it nice and smooth. I might. But I did a few passes, came out pretty good. Is it a work of art? No, by no means, but it will hold. That's what matters. So I went ahead and mocked this up. You'll see here how it's going to sit. It's going to come down. I'm going to swoop back up. I'll get this to join right here. I'll probably cut this a little shorter here. I did order some caps, so that'll be nice and capped off. I'll have to take the seat out, which is a pain, but I don't want to risk messing my seat up. The seats aren't cheap, so that's where we're at. Alright, so I hooked up my handy dandy JD Squared Notch Master here. This is a really nice tool. Well, best thing is that it's great for holding tube, not only notching it, but holding the tube. So I marked, when I had it on the buggy as a mock-up, I made a mark where it needs to cut. So hopefully I can cut there, and then create a saddle so that it will go over there. Let's see what we can do. I think what I'm going to have to do is use my cutting disc to try to cut it, because the Sawzall is hard to keep still. See what we can do. I know I'm gonna have to take some more off, but I'd rather take off a little bit at a time. Alright, first test, not too bad. I need to put a little saddle on the back side and it should sit on there really nicely. Comes all the way up here. Comes down. I need to put a little notch in here like this. Kind of take off the black part here. Do is just slowly go like this until we make a nice notch in there. And that's what it's gonna look like. Pretty awesome. So when you're working with tube, you can always take more off, and it's a lot harder to fix it if you take off too much. So you want to take off a little bit at a time. Don't be afraid to do a bunch of test fits. Now it's time for another test fit. Pretty big chamfer. Or not chamfer, pretty big notch. But it's fitting pretty good. So guess what time it is? Time for another test fit. A little bit more off the back. Should be good. I'm going to try to get in and out of it, see how that works out. Oh, I see. That's not too bad. I think I'm happy with that. Alright, so here's those caps I was telling you about I ordered. And there's tube caps that go right here. Kind of finish it off. Be able to weld down in there. So I think it'll have a good look. So I sent some photos to a buddy of mine, and he thought it would be good to put another piece of tube right here, especially since this is where I joined it, which is probably smart because I didn't sleeve it. So I'm going to put another piece right here to make it stronger, and I feel a lot better with that. It'll be good. So this is how I match tube up. Is I have my first piece that took me a really long time to get the sizing, and I lay it over the new piece, and I just get my marker here. I've gone ahead and marked just about where I need to cut, and that'll save me a bunch of time. See that they line up pretty perfect. You know, this is bent by hand, so it's not going to be super exact, but you can get like 99.9% there. I did leave this side a little long. I noticed that the other side of the buggy is actually a little bit longer. So you got to remember that these are cut out, but they're actually welded on a jig by hand, and when you weld things, there's going to be tension on the bars. They're going to move a little bit, so that's not out of the ordinary. So a few cuts. I'm already getting pretty close to what I want. Got to grind down this a little bit, but you can see how much faster that went using my old cut as a stencil. So much faster. So I do want to show you something. Look at this mess I made. What an ugly mess. Well, the only reason I did this was for aesthetics. I had a little bit of a gap at the top of the tube. So I just basically just put a bunch of booger welds on there, and I'm gonna grind them down and hopefully cover up that hole a little bit, and that way it'll look like tube instead of just a gap. So that's one thing I do like about metal, is you can always add it back in. So granted, this isn't something you'd want to do for structural integrity, but for aesthetics this will work. So grind it down and see what it looks like. Alright, so I grinded that area down. So when I put the little tube cap, I won't have a gap there anymore. So was able to fix that hole kind of right at the base of the tube there. And I'll put a little bit more weld once I weld it all in, but mission accomplished. Alright, I got it all welded up. Yeah, my welds are not the best by far. I never claimed to be the best welder, but it's on there and it's gonna hold. So this is going to be, I still have to weld this in there, but this is going to be the final product. Once it's all welded in, I got to take the seats out, which is a pain, but I added these bars to give this more support. I think that's going to look amazing. Alright, so I still have to burn in the back side of the tube. I've got to remove the seats, which is a pain. But I was able to swap the panels that I had. So the back side was clean and the other side had stickers. So I decided to go with a clean look this time. But this is basically a mock-up of what it's going to look like. And I am very happy with the results. See if I can get some different angles here. I think it looks really clean. I do have to add some screws in here and somewhere to screw in here so it doesn't rattle. But this is the result. I was able to cut this with my angle grinder. Just basically put a little channel in there and then just kind of bend it loose in pieces. It was pretty easy. So you don't need a fancy saw or anything to do that. It's a little high on this side, so I might take it down maybe a 1/2 inch. So that way I'm getting in and out on the tube and not getting caught on this, because that would suck. Or I could just put some kind of a protector on there. But I think it's easy enough to just cut it maybe 1 inch down. Not 1 inch, a 1/2 inch. Alright, so I put on my panels and I had to put these tabs on here. So that way the panel will stay on in the top part. So now that I have those on there, I'll put the panel back on and I can use a hole punch from the other side or a drill bit and mark where I need to drill. Alright everybody, so day 2 of this modification, and I've got the passenger side all tacked in, measured. So we're gonna go ahead and weld this up. Then we got to cut the panel. So if you've ever wondered what my buggy looks like without the seats in there, you see here I have the AW4 from a Jeep Cherokee. It's actually pretty long. Alright, then I have a Dana 300 It's the only T-case that really fit in there. I'll be doing some new gears on this, in December, so stay tuned for that. And then drive shaft. So it's very, very simple setup, and I like it. You can see there's a bunch of cut wires that I don't need. What I like about this transmission is I don't need a computer or anything. I can just manually shift it, and does what I need it to do. I don't ever need to go in high or anything like that. So little behind the scenes there. All right, so I ran into a problem when I pre-drilled the holes on the sheet metal to match the other side. Things are just a little bit off. So I filled these in, re-drilled them. Then I realized the back of this hole is hitting the tube. So obviously I don't want to cut the tube. So what I decided to do is drill a bigger hole, and I'm going to tack weld this nut in there. And that should be good enough to hold a panel. And here we have a finished panel. I got one more of these tabs I got to order. So that's kind of just loosey-goosey, but these tabs on the inside I ran out of. But what's nice is the inside of this panel had the plastic still on it, so it looks like brand new. Very nice. Alright, so one thing I like to do sometimes when I'm working on an entryway like this that maybe people are going to slide on or touch is I'll put a little bit of this Bondo putty. It dries really fast, and I want to smooth all this out so nobody gets like their clothes torn or anything like that or scratched. So these welds can get a little sharp, so I'm going to go ahead and sand this down a little bit. Now I got my cans of Steel It that came in. I'm not sponsored by Steel It in any way. I wish I was. This stuff is not cheap. Get it on Amazon. I think it's 2 cans for about 70 bucks. What's nice is you can weld right over it. So, and it's supposed to have like real stainless steel in there, so I don't know, it works pretty good. It comes out really nice, and this is the result. Very nice. Bondo cleaned up this area quite nice, so there's no sharp edges when I get in and out. Steel It. Nice color. Fixed some stuff up here too. It's very nice. Alright, and the final look. There it is. Very happy how that came out. I think it looks good. What are your thoughts? Leave comments. Appreciate you watching.